We're carrying on with classifying triangles. So in the previous video we did classification with the sides. So according to what the measurements of the sides are, we call them a scalene or an isosceles or an equilateral. Now we're doing classifying triangles in terms of their angles, right? So look at the first one here. We call this triangle an acute triangle, and why? All three angles of the triangle are acute angles. So what does acute angles mean? That the angles have to be less than 90 degrees. So if we measure this angle here, it'll be less than 90 degrees. If we measure that angle, less than 90 degrees. If we measure that angle, less than 90 degrees. If all three angles are acute angles, we will call the triangle an acute triangle. Okay, so right angle means one of the angle of the triangle is a right angle. This is a very important sign to know. It's called your right angle sign, which is telling you that if you measure this part here, I'm going to get 90 degrees. So this is one angle. One angle is equals to 90 degrees. So if I see a triangle with one angle equals to 90 degrees, if I draw it the other way, and that is 90 degrees there, I would call that a right angled triangle, right? So we're working with the angles now and not the sides. We're measuring the angles. Then we have an obtuse triangle. Now how do we call the obtuse triangle? One of the angles of the triangle is obtuse angle, and the other two angles will be acute, right? So what is an obtuse angle? It means that the angle is greater than 90 degrees but less than 180 degrees. So we're looking at anything between 90 to 180 degrees. So we're going from 91, 95, 100, 120, 130, 140, right up to 180 on our protractor, and that would become a obtuse angle. So in an obtuse triangle, one angle, can you see this big angle here, would be more than 90 if we measure it, and less than 180. So we would have one obtuse angle, and then we would have two acute angles. So if you measure this, it's going to be less than 90. If you measure that, it's going to be more or less than 90. So we've got two acute angles and one obtuse angle. So we call it an obtuse triangle. So now when we're doing geometry, in maths I always tell you don't learn anything off by heart, learn how to work out. In geometry there's a few things that we need to learn off by heart, okay? So we need to learn how to name the angles. The names of the angles, what am I saying with an acute? That it's less than 90 degrees. A right angle means that it's equals to 90 degrees. And an obtuse angle is between 90 and 180. So it's revision of grade 7 work. And also you need to know now how to name the triangles. So when we're classifying triangles, we are naming the triangles now. First we did it according to sides. Now we're doing it according to angles. Okay, so now we're going to move on to something very important. Don't worry about doing 12.1 today. I want to carry on to sum of angles of a triangle. So if you look at this page here, I have done a small drawing for you to explain the example, right? So when we see a sentence like this, the sum of angles of a triangle, what is it telling us? It is telling us that we need to add the angles up inside the triangle. Now how many angles are we going to have? You remember what we said, what the definition of a triangle is? A triangle needs to have 3 angles. Okay, only if it has 3 angles can we call it a triangle. So if we add these 3 triangles up together in a triangle, they always equals to 180 degrees. So what it's telling me is if I add this angle here, okay, let's look at these small examples here. If I add A plus B plus C, right? A plus B plus C, what is it going to be equals to? 180 degrees. Okay, if I add in this triangle D plus E, that's an E, D plus E plus F, so I've got D plus E plus F, it's going to be 180 degrees. If I add X plus Y plus Z, How much is it going to be equals to? 180 degrees. So what we are doing is we're learning a theorem, which means that this has been proven by the mathematicians and we need to learn it, and we say the sum of the interior angles of a triangle is 180 degrees. So when we see a long sentence like that, all it's telling us is A plus B plus C is equals to 180 degrees, right? So if you add any angles inside a triangle, the rule is that it's going to be equals to 180 degrees. So we have to learn this part here. And why do we call it the interior angles? Because it's the angles that are inside there. So I have to learn the theorem now that the sum of the interior angles of a triangle is 180 degrees. So let's do this example together, right? So I've got x plus 65 plus 45 degrees. So now remember, we did algebraic equations. It's very similar. It's the same thing and it's very easy. So what is my theorem telling me, right? I've got two angles there and the one they've left out and they've told me it's x. So let's write down what I have. So when I'm doing geometry, I write down a statement and then I have to write a reason why I am saying something like that. I can't just write down that the angles are equal to 180 degrees. I have to say my theorem that why am I saying they're equals to 180 degrees? Because the sum of the interior angles is equals to 180 degrees. So let's see how we're going to write it down. So we're going to say in that triangle ABC, right? We're going to say x plus 65 degrees plus 45 degrees is equals to what? I've been told it's equals to 180 degrees. And now I have to say a reason. Why did I say that? Sum of angles, so we just write the short, that's angles in a triangle, is equals to 180 degrees. So what am I saying? My statement is I'm saying that these three angles, interior angles, are equals to 180 degrees. Why did I say it? Because of my theorem that I'm learning today. That's something that I have to learn. It's a rule of a triangle. Once I have a triangle, always the interior angles are equals to 180 degrees. So how are we going to solve this? Same how we did our equations. We're going to leave the x on one side and I'm going to take my 65, I'm going to put it on that side, and I'm going to take my 45 and I'm going to put it on that side. And what do I need to do if I'm changing the side? Yes, I need to change the sign. So I'm saying 180 degrees minus 65 degrees. I've changed the sign, minus 45 degrees. Okay, this is the part where you're allowed to use your calculator. So you take your calculator and you say 180 minus 45 minus 65, and I get x is equals to 70 degrees. Okay, so I've solved for my x. Now let's test it and see whether we are correct. So I've got my triangle ABC, right? I have 65, I've got 45, and now I've said that my x is equals to 70 degrees. Let's see. Okay, so 65 degrees plus 45 degrees plus 70 degrees. What do I get? I've got 65 plus 45 plus 70. Can you see? They are equals to 180 degrees, which means that I have done my question properly. I've solved for my x and my x. So if you have any triangle, if you measure the angles in any triangle, what's going to happen? They're going to be equals to 180 degrees. So I've split the questions up into the theorem here for today. So I'm going to put up this homework for you. And besides that, you have to draw one scalene, one isosceles, and one equilateral with a ruler and a pencil. You don't have to do a construction of a triangle with a compass, what we did in last week's work. You just have to draw. You have to know what a scalene is. and draw the side measurements, what an isosceles is and what an equilateral triangle is, right? So that's your homework for today. So just as a quick revision, what did we do today is we did a very important theorem, and in geometry language we're saying the sum of the interior angles of a triangle is equals to 180 degrees. Always, always, always. It's a rule. We need to learn the rule, and then sometimes they take out the one and then we have to solve the other one, right? So now, okay, that was an easy one, right? So now I chose two more that I can help you with so that when you see the examples, you're going to be able to do it, okay? Just put some paper underneath here. Okay, so we've got this triangle here, right? So it's telling us now, and remember I have to write down my statement and I have to write down my reason, right? So what is my statement here? I've got, look at my can you see I've got a triangle? I've got that there. What is that telling me? It's telling me that this angle is 90 degrees, right? And I've got an X and I've got 35 degrees. So now in this triangle here, according to the theorem we're learning today, what can we say? We can say that X plus 90 degrees. Can you see how important it is to look at that sign? It's not told to you. Plus 35 degrees is equals to what? 180 degrees. There's my statement. I've written down a statement. Now I must prove my statement, right? Why did I say that? Sum of the angles in a triangle are always equals to 180 degrees. Now I'm going to solve for my X. So now I've showed you how to do it, so I'm just going to do it quickly. 180 degrees minus the 90 degrees minus the 35 degrees. So it's calculator time. 180 minus 90 minus 35, I get 55 degrees. And you can do a test and see whether I've done it properly. So we get X to be 55 degrees. So we've solved that one there. That one has become 55 degrees. Can you see how I have solved the question? By saying that they are equal to, adding them up and saying that they are equal to 180 degrees. But remember, when you do a question like this, first of all, you'll get a mark to do that. Then you'll get a mark to write your reason. Then you'll get a mark to write down your substitution, and then there. So you get part marks for everything. So it's very important not to just work it out on your calculator and